I'll check tomorrow about getting the building. All right. Okay, there has been a little change in the program. I sent you an email saying that Sally Fox would be representing the Citizens for Equity group. Well, that's changed. No. I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead and throw them. I'm sorry. I said Sally Fox would be representing the No Steps Backwards group, but that has changed. Mr. Paul Bird will be speaking for that group. Now, this meeting is for and of the people of the Lakeland Park Neighborhood Association. We are going to allow the speakers 5 minutes each. And following both presentations, we will open the floor for questions. We will only allow people from the neighborhood who live within the bounds of the association to present questions. This meeting is not a debate. It's simply to have both sides of this referendum presented to you, so you will have the opportunity to ask your questions, make your decision as to how you want to vote. We will not, under any circumstances, have a debate. If any visitors have questions of neighbors or whatever, you're welcome to talk to anyone you want to after the meeting, but not during the meeting. And if you don't follow these rules, then you will be asked to leave. Because I've heard some of the things that have gone on in some of the other meetings, and we're not going to have that here. It will be a civil, informative meeting. So I hope that is agreeable with everybody. Our two speakers, I let them draw numbers for who would go first, and Mr. Bird will present his talk first.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for being here. I'm Paul Bird, the chair of No Steps Backwards. This morning, an anniversary of 9/11, I went to Union Square and to attend this memorial service for the victims of 9/11. It occurred at the beautiful sails on the square, and it was a great event, and I hope all of you saw it. I hope you were there. I have 5 minutes.
Oh, by the way, excuse me, John, will you time my
I got my wife back there. She's got the clock.
4:10.
Okay, my iPad clock's not working.
It was a great event. I want to concede approximately 30 seconds of my time for all of us here to have a moment of reflection for nearly 3,000 people, mostly Americans, but from 90 different countries, who were senselessly murdered and slaughtered by mindless terrorists on that day. And to the people of the greatest generation, it was Pearl Harbor. That was an armed conflict. For our people, for the people who remember this day, it was innocent civilians who were killed, and 3,000 families were affected. I just ask you to take a moment and pause and reflect on this. What I have to say won't take 5 minutes. It's very simple. It's very basic. There are people in this community that want to take away from you 5 votes. You currently have a system of government in the city of Hickory that has 6 council members and a mayor. And once they're selected from their wards, they stand for election for the general public. And so everyone who is a citizen of Hickory currently has an opportunity to vote for or against every council member that runs, and including the mayor. So you have 7 votes. If we go to this reform movement as proposed, you will be able to vote in your ward only, and you will be able to vote for the mayor. Now, my opposition is going to tell you that that's what we need to cure voter apathy. I disagree. I feel very strongly about the right to vote. I think it's one of our constitutional freedoms. I think it's one of our liberties. I do not think it is anything to be toyed with. If the present form of government is not perfect, and many things in this life are not perfect, there should be opportunities to have open discussions and public discussions about possible reforms. But my opposition wants to gut what we have. There's just no pretty word for it. They're going to take away 5 votes from you. And they say they're doing it in the interest of fair representation. There's nothing fair about that. Every one of you have done this for 42 years. You know the deal, and you know how it works. Now, they have created a crisis in their mind, saying that city government's not broke. City government is broken, excuse me. It's not broken. It's not broken at all. The financial health of the city of Hickory is good. Our services are good. We have good council people. And you can early vote tomorrow through Saturday at Stanford Park. The final election day is on the 18th of September, 1 week from today. Now, there may be some people who are confused and think there's a November election coming up and you can make your vote then. You can't. This thing is like a perfect storm. It's good timing for them. They brought in outsiders to get all this done so they could do this before the election. But I'm telling you, do not give up your right to vote and vote no and keep what we have. It's working. It's not broken. It does not need to be fixed. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker representing Citizens for Equity is Mr. Joe Brown.
Thank you. I actually grew up in this neighborhood, about a quarter mile up the street. Thanks for having me. 5 minutes, huh?
5 minutes.
Okay. I'm going to talk about brief history lesson 1. We've heard, not tonight, but in this debate, we've heard if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I agree. Why was it tampered with back in 1967? When City Council met on a Monday, they voted to make this all at large. For 100 years, we had ward-specific elections. For whatever reason, it was changed within a 48-hour time period. The vote was 4 to 5. 4 to 3. 4 council members voted for it, 3 against it. The 3 that voted against it were vocal and why they were voting against it. The ones that voted for it said not a word of why they were doing it. Here we are today. I do believe, actually, that having ward-specific elections would increase voter turnout. Right now we have, in a city of 40,000 people, we have roughly 6, maybe 7% voter turnout on city council elections. That's low. I want to talk about 3 other things. 1, I want to talk about responsiveness from city council or from the city itself. Roughly in May, I guess, I made a request of the city for some information, routine information that I was told is public information. All you have to do is ask for it, Joe. Just ask for it. So I asked for it. 2.5 weeks later, I get this stack of paper, 98 pages, almost $25. Nowhere in this is the question that I asked answered. Nowhere. I tried to take it back, but they won't take it back. You need to be more specific with your question. Not very responsive. I want to talk about accountability. A year and a half ago, a rental property task force was put together to look at code enforcement in rental properties. We made some recommendations. The recommendations went to council. One of the recommendations was to beef up the city's ability to enforce nuisance codes. That recommendation was voted down. It was defeated. One of the council members that voted no against the city's ability to beef up their ability to enforce, at the time he voted no, was in violation of city nuisance codes. So much so that the property has now been demolished. Nobody said a word about it. They didn't recuse themselves. The council members that knew about it allowed him to vote no and didn't say a word. That just doesn't seem very accountable to me anyway. It seems to be a conflict of interest. I think most people would agree with that. What's my time? John, do you know?
1 minute and 55 seconds.
1 minute and 55 seconds. Not much I can say. We're going to have questions, right? So I'll get back the rest of my time and we'll answer some questions.
All right. Okay, the floor is open for questions. Would you stand?
I just want to know where we vote. Should we go to our regular voting site?
Go to Island, and for early voting is,
No, I mean next Tuesday.
you go to your normal precinct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Mr. Lavender.
Okay, I need to lay just a bit of groundwork for my question. All of us, regardless of party affiliation, background, etc., are probably pretty ticked off at the way things have gone in Washington with virtually no cooperation, no compromise, no let's get to the root of the matter. My question is, if a council person feels responsibility only to his or her geographic location, as our senators and representatives seem to do, how can we avoid a head-knocking, total lack of cooperation on city council when they are supposed to all be working for the betterment of Hickory, not Ward 1 or Ward 2 or Ward 6 or whatever? How can we avoid that head-knocking competition if we go back to a ward-centered situation?
Mr. Byrd, would you like to respond to that first?
Well, I'd say this briefly. Heard the opposition talk about that we need to be more like the Congress. I would remind the opposition that the Congress has about a 10% approval rating. I'd like to say something about Sally Fox and what she brought up in public comments that were made at the softball. She talked about money that over the past 10 years has gone to different sections of the city. Okay? That's a pretty substantial amount of money. Now, we have people on council who are responsible for all the citizens of Hickory. Can you imagine what this is going to be like if we have a ward system and they get in there and start arguing about, why don't I get this, and why don't I get that, and I'm mad about this, and I want this money, no, I want that money, that's my ward, I want that. We need people on council who are responsible to all the citizens of Hickory. And we do not need this divisiveness. We do not need to go into a system that we don't know exactly what's going to work out of it or what's not going to work. What we have right now is working. We don't need to change it.
I think what we had in 1967, from all accounts that I've been able to research, it worked. There wasn't headbutting, there wasn't, territorial council members. I have faith in candidates that run. I think, an argument that I have to be elected by the city at large so that I can represent all the citizens. Seems to be more of a damning criticism of that individual's character than it does a defense of the system at large. I think if they're elected from a ward, certainly they're going to have the city's best interest at heart. They can also have that ward's best interest at heart. It just, I have faith in them. I think they can rise to the occasion. When they take trips to Washington or they take trips to Raleigh through Chamber of Commerce events or whatever, they can wear the City of Hickory hat and they can represent the best interest of the city at large. When they're in those council chambers, it wouldn't hurt for them to, at times, be a lobbyist, be a representative of a particular ward. My opinion. You might have a different opinion. Right now, there's 40,000 people in Hickory, 40,000 citizens. Of those 40,000 citizens, you're one person, you're one voice. Go into a ward system. There's roughly 6,500 citizens in a ward. In a ward system, you're one of 6,500. By those numbers, it just seems more likely that your voice would be heard, and maybe your opinion would be more taken into account.
Yes, ma'am.
For either gentleman or both of you, I'm fairly new to Hickory and I haven't been here long enough to participate in a local election. I need a basic civics lesson. How are the nominees for city council selected? What's the process?
Right now, we have 6 wards, okay? If you have to live in the ward to run, you have to have, there's a residency requirement. You could have, if one person files from the ward, obviously it's uncontested. If 2 people file from the ward, then those 2 people run in a citywide campaign in a regular election. If more than 2 people file for office from one particular ward, we have a primary. And just the people in that ward vote. The top 2 vote getters then go on to a general election citywide.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about, I was taking a walk and then on the yes, it talks about elitism and $1 million sales downtown. So I sort of wanted to be explained how it's going to be different, that there won't be this elitism if we keep it the way it is.
That's for me.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Her over here.
Can you repeat that?
I was talking about on some of the, changing yes.
Would you stand up?
On some of the banners for yes, it talked about elitism and Hickory, about $1 million sales, downtown. And I didn't know it cost $1 million. I don't think I really know exactly how much of what I understood. So how does that change if we go to only voting for one council person? How do you think elitism has changed? Because I understand there's something about a pool. The pool wasn't.
The word elite is not intended to reference the size of your house, the kind of car you drive, your income. It's a mindset. It's a mindset like that. Okay. And the reason the word elite is tied to that is because City Council decided to undertake this project downtown. It's a great project. It could turn out to be the most wonderful thing in Hickory as far as Union Square is concerned. The only criticism I have of it is the way the process took place to get to where we are today. They used, well, we were told 286,000, then it was 423. It went as high as 501, now it might be as low as 496. We don't know yet. It was built without any citizen input. No public hearings. They just decided, let's build a tent or a structure or whatever. When you spend that kind of money, it makes sense to get input from the citizens who are footing the bill. Now, the money that was used was not tax revenue. It didn't come from property taxes. It came from a parking deck fund. Whether I write a check for my property tax or whether I don't get them, but if I were to get parking tickets, I write a $20 check to the police department, that becomes public money. It's citizens' money. It's owned by the citizens of Hickory. They shouldn't feel entitled to spend non-tax revenue any way they want without citizen input, and spend tax revenue, which is required by law. They have to hold public hearings. Does it change it? I don't know. Hopefully it would.
That's what I'm wondering, how does voting yes or no change input? I mean,
Well,
would you not known about that, that you're voting for one or voting for, others? I mean,
But
that's the
it
problem.
goes to accountability. In my book, okay, 2,700 people signed the petition that was certified that called for this special election. As far as I know, there's 2,700 different reasons why those 2,700 people signed that petition. Some of the people in this room signed the petition. I don't know why they signed it. That's not my call. They signed it for their own reason. I personally believe going to a ward system, taking away this at-large, non-existent ward that continually elects incumbents would help.
You want me to address that? I'd love to. I want to thank the opposition for their signs, because I think that's probably one of the greatest things we've got going in this campaign. I think it is a symbolic of what I call John Edwards' hatchery from down east. They want to play off people one against the other. I live in Northeast Hickory. I'm not mad at anybody that lives in Northwest Hickory. I'm not mad at anybody that lives in the south of Hickory or the west or the north. I don't care. I want Hickory to move forward. And I do thank you for your sign. Because I also am thankful you're not setting property taxes, because you continue to cling to this $1 million thing, and you continue to give it the disrespectful name of a tent. It's not a tent. It may be one of the most important things that's happened to Hickory and the downtown area for years. And as far as the elite, let me tell you about the elite. The people of downtown Hickory who work there, they are wait staff, they are cooks, they are law clerks, they are bank tellers, they work in offices, they have small businesses trying to meet payroll, and they live all over Hickory. You ask somebody, you ask a waitress or a waiter, where do you live? I live in Highland. I live off Springs Road. They may not even live in Hickory. Downtown Hickory development benefits everybody in Hickory. We don't need this elitist. There's no elitism. Everybody's elite because they're citizens of Hickory. I believe that in my heart, and that's why we're going to win this election.
Any other questions? I would like to say one thing. I'll ask one thing. You talk about the downtown, revitalizing the downtown and drawing people to the downtown. Which would be more beneficial to the downtown businesses? More parking or the sales over Union Square?
I have not thought about that, and I can't give you a clear answer on that at this time.
You have
You're
a
asking
response?
me? I can't figure it out. The pot of money that was used to pay for the sales project was actually the parking deck fund. So, I don't know.
Let me make one comment, if I may, about parking. A few weekends ago, my wife and I went to Asheville. And Asheville has a lot of unique buildings in it. There is the Grove Arcade, which was built by the same gentleman who did Grove Park Inn. It's a 3-story structure, and the inside of it is beautiful. It's stonework. It was done almost 100 years ago by craftsmen. It's an architectural wonder, and they have other buildings like that in Asheville. But when you go to Asheville, as my wife was going up and down the shops, I was running out to the parking meter slamming quarters in that thing. And we spent part of a morning in Asheville, and I probably slammed $8 worth of quarters.
Oh, I think you were in the bookstore longer than I was reading.
Well, I-
Excuse me, I'm not supposed to comment, but I'll comment.
She digresses. Let me continue. I spent a lot of money. Now, it's almost ironic that you have a downtown that's wanting to encourage people to come and trade, and then you give them a parking ticket because they did. But it's a big source of revenue for the city of Hickory. I think it's for a lot of cities, it's a source of revenue. But I'll say this about downtown Hickory. It's not a slam on anybody who has a business in Viewmont or anything else. My wife and I ate in Viewmont before we came over here. We don't trade everything that we do in downtown Hickory. But you tell me one city in North Carolina of any size, whether it's our size or 10,000 smaller or 10,000 bigger, that have just washed their hands of their downtown and said, no, we just don't care about downtown. We're just going to go out to the mall. We're just going to go out to the Tanger outlets. We're just going out to the interstate and buy something cheap. That's part of Hickory's history, its heritage. We need a prosperous downtown to draw people into this community for community events, and there's a ripple effect throughout. But these people who work in downtown, they don't live in $500,000 homes 2 blocks away. And I'm going to tell you something else. If you've got a $500,000 home, I'm not mad at you. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're paying the property tax on it. Okay? I hope you build a $600,000 home. That's the essence of this. It's time for Hickory to build up and move forward. It's not time for experimentation. It's not time for rancor. It's not time for division. We got to go forward as a city.
Any more questions?
But don't you think that the citizens of Hickory ought to approve large amounts of money that we put up there?
I think that may be something as a result of this that maybe they need to take a look at. If it's a large amount of money, and I will not tell you that $500,000 is not a large amount of money for me. The city has about an $84 million budget. So in the course of 1 year, that's about 1/2 of 1% of the city budget. And that's about what they're paying you for CD rates. But it may be as a result of this that there is discussion and dialogue. And maybe in the future, there might be some kind of dollar limit that you have to have some kind of public input. And that's doable. But to go in there now and gut everything that we have and go off on this new experiment in the hopes that we're going to solve voter apathy, I just don't know. You can't prove it by me. Now, if you think that way, go vote yes. If you don't, go vote no.
Well, I think a lot of the opposition is because the citizens of Hickory do not have an opportunity to vote on what it costs to build that.
Yeah, and you're probably right that there are people that are frustrated that they didn't have an opportunity in an open forum to make their expression. There was a lot of talk. You remember when Lowe's came into Viewmont, and citizens didn't vote on it, but there was a lot of debate. There was a lot of discussion at city council meetings, and it may be that we may need to have more of that going forward. I will say this. You can't, in effect, debate and argue everything on the agenda. Every time somebody transfers a cemetery plot to another family member, it has to be passed by council. Every time you lower a speed limit, it's got to be passed by council. We have to have some kind of common sense about it. There's only so much democracy that you can afford in a 24-hour day. But you may have a point there that for larger amounts of money, maybe we need to take another look at how it's done.
I agree with that.
Thanks.
Just, I'll just add to that this. I get kind of what you're talking about is having citizens feel that they have an opportunity to voice opinions. For years, I don't have a copy with it now, I don't think any exist anymore, but there was a city council agenda where just right on the front it said with the consent agenda that citizens were able, if you read it, citizens were able to pull items from the consent agenda for discussion, just like council members may. And that was tried one time. And they rewrote the rule to where you can't do that anymore. If you go to a Catawba County Commissioners meeting, or Iredell County, or Caldwell County, Alexander County, Statesville City, Lenore City Council meeting, the first thing on the agenda is citizens requesting to be heard, right after the invocation. The Hickory City Council meeting, you have an invocation, recognition of various things. You have a consent agenda, you have departmental reports, and then after all the votes have been taken, then you get to speak as a citizen on something that has already been decided more or less. I think something simple as just moving that to the top of the agenda would give people a sense of empowerment, that their voices matter and that they're being heard. For whatever reason, Hickory doesn't do it like that.
Chief Lucas, ex-Chief Lucas. Retired Chief Lucas.
This is a question from Mr. Brannick, yes or no answer. Do we not currently have a representative from every ward in the city of Hickory on city council now, yes or no?
Yes, based on the residency requirement.
Did not everybody in that ward have an opportunity to vote for that particular person? Did everybody in that ward not have an opportunity to vote for or against that person?
I assume so if they exercised that right. But the same was true in prior to 1967. Did not every citizen in a
I
ward...
didn't ask you that. You answered my questions. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have a question. Prior to 1967, did not every citizen of Hickory have a right to vote for their representative?
I don't know. You and I, neither one of us were here. We don't know.
They did.
Any other questions? Any comments?
Move we adjourn.
Pardon?
Move we adjourn.
The motion has been made that we adjourn. Is there a second? Okay, I would like to thank the representatives for being here and appreciate the information. Thank the neighbors for being here, and we will